Trump just made one move that could send gas prices soaring, shake the global economy, and drag the United States deeper into war. More than 850 ships are trapped in one of the most dangerous waterways on Earth, and now, Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy is stepping in. This morning, Trump announced what he's calling Project Freedom, a U.S.-led operation to guide hundreds of stranded ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. That may sound like a rescue mission, but this is one of the most dangerous military flashpoints in the world, and one wrong move here could trigger something much bigger, because the Strait of Hormuz is not just another shipping route, it is one of the most important waterways on the planet. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil passes through this narrow stretch of water. That means what happens here doesn't stay in the Middle East. It hits gas stations in America, it hits food prices, it hits inflation, it hits your wallet. And right now, that entire route is on the edge of collapse. For weeks, the Strait of Hormuz has been locked in chaos. Iran imposed a blockade after the war erupted earlier this year. The United States responded with its own counter-blockade. Now hundreds of ships are stuck. Oil tankers, cargo vessels, container ships, more than 20,000 sailors stranded at sea. And every day this crisis drags on, the economic pressure gets worse. Oil prices have already surged past $120 a barrel. That is the kind of number that sends shockwaves through the global economy, and Americans are already feeling it. Gas prices are climbing, inflation fears are rising again, and now, Trump is stepping directly into the center of it. According to Trump, the U.S. will now help guide trapped ships through the strait in what he framed as a humanitarian mission. But there is one major problem. Iran is already warning that any U.S. interference in the strait could be seen as a violation of the ceasefire, and that changes everything. Because this is no longer just about trapped ships, this is now a direct military pressure point between the United States and Iran, and the stakes could not be higher. Trump says talks with Iran are, very positive, but at almost the exact same time, he also warned that if this operation is interfered with, it will be dealt with, quote, forcefully. That is the contradiction making this story so dangerous. On one hand, Trump is signaling diplomacy. On the other, he is openly threatening military escalation. And that is exactly why markets are nervous. Because honestly, nobody knows what happens next. This could become a breakthrough. Or it could become the spark that reignites a much larger war. And the military buildup is already impossible to ignore. U.S. Central Command says the operation includes guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircraft, unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. That is not a symbolic move. That is serious military positioning. And Iran is watching all of it. Tehran has already warned that any attempt to interfere in the strait will be seen as a breach. Meanwhile, Israeli officials are reportedly preparing for the possibility of another round of U.S. strikes on Iran. And behind the scenes, fears are growing that this ceasefire may already be hanging by a thread. That is what makes this so much bigger than a shipping story. This is not just about boats. This is not just about oil. This is not just about trade. This is about whether the U.S. is walking into a larger regional war in one of the most economically important choke points on Earth. Because if this fails, the consequences won't stay overseas. They will hit the U.S. fast. Higher gas prices, more inflation, market instability, and potentially another major American military escalation in the Middle East. That is why this story matters, because what Trump just announced is being framed as a rescue mission, but it could become something much bigger, and if this goes wrong, the economic and military consequences could be felt everywhere, especially in the United States, and the next move could decide everything.